Toad Stands By is the 20th episode of the 4th series, based on the story of the same name from the Railway series book, Oliver the Western Engine. This episode dives more into Oliver and Toad, the two Great Western pair that was introduced in Series 3. And it was the story that was missing from Series 3 since they skipped that story to go straight to Bulgy. But did they do a good job adapting it for the 4th series? Let's have a look. Oliver returns from the works after an earlier accident where some trucks pushed him into a turntable well. Now he is as good as new, but still worried about trucks, preferring not to use them. The trucks, prompted by their ringleader Scruffy, sing a rude song to spite him. Thomas, Percy and Duck are shocked and angrily order them to be quiet, but they cannot be everywhere at once, and the trucks continue singing wherever and whenever the engines are not around. Thomas, Duck and Percy give up and apologise to Oliver, who insists he is the one at fault. The next morning, Toad, feeling sorry for Oliver too, and worried about the truck's disrespect for the engines, asks Douglas if he may stay in the yard and help Oliver, to which Douglas agrees. Later, Toad explains his plan to the two Great Western engines, with Duck believing he shouldn't suggest it to Oliver as it implies physical abuse. However, Oliver agrees to the plan as he feels that the truck's behaviour is his own fault and wants to put it right. Oliver's driver agrees it with the station master, and the plan is soon set in motion, while Duck concedes and goes to pick up his passengers. Following Toad's advice, Oliver marshals the worst trucks 2 by 2 and handles Scruffy last, which leaves the ringleader behind him. As Duck arrives at the station with his passenger train, Scruffy is shunted in front of the other trucks and whispers to them to hold back and pass the word around, which they do. However, Oliver has a perfect grip due to plenty of sand on the wells and gives a great heave. With Oliver pulling forward and all of the other trucks pulling back, Scruffy is stretched in 2 opposite directions and begins to feel very strained, while Duck encourages Oliver. Within a short time and unable to withstand the abuse, Scruffy is stretched to his limit and breaks apart, to the horror of the other trucks and to the delight of Toad and Duck. The Fat Controller arrives and asks Oliver if he doesn't know his own strength, to which Oliver nervously replies in the negative. The Fat Controller inspects Scruffy's remains, attributing to the truck's broken state to rotten wood and rusty frames, and decides to have him rebuilt. The other trucks become fearful of Oliver and whisper to each other not to anger him as they fear he will pull them apart. Scruffy, on the other hand, after having been rebuilt, has learnt his lesson and says nothing at all. This episode introduces us to another brand new antagonist, but it's not a diesel or another steam engine this time. It's a cruel ballast truck known as Scruffy, the ringleader of all the other troublesome trucks. Scruffy was known to be an insufferable and ruthless advocate for the very bad behaviour of the trucks to the engines on the Little Western. However, his antics would eventually lead to him being pulled apart by Oliver. After being rebuilt, he has learnt his lesson and says little or nothing at all, at least when it came to his accident. Scruffy is based on a 7-plank open wagon, and I love the look of this guy, with that one single tooth showing out of his mouth and his facial expressions. And I think he must be the first character in the TV series we see have a tongue, since when we see most of the other characters in the TV series with their mouths open, we don't see tongues. The only other character I could think of is Toad the Brakevan, who gets a lot more time to shine in this episode compared to his appearances in Series 3. And we get to see just how faithful he is to Oliver and the other engines on the Little Western. And the major difference of this episode from the original book is the fact that Scruffy gets rebuilt in the episode.
The Fat Controller inspected Scruffy. Has a thought. Rotten wood, rusty frames. Maybe if we put you back together, you'll earn yourself a better name.
Whereas in the book, he doesn't get rebuilt at all.
The Fat Controller inspected the remains. As I thought, he remarked. Rotten wood, rusty frames. Unserviceable before it came. He winked at Oliver and whispered, "Don't tell the trucks that. Bad for discipline."
Or at least they don't mention him being rebuilt, which gives us the impression that he suffered the same fate as the spiteful Brakevan did, being made into kindling. But in the TV series, it was Brittlecroft and David Mitten's decision to have Scruffy rebuilt. So it's not just a complete copy and paste job of the spiteful Brakevan's fate. And I think it was to his advantage in this episode, showing that everybody deserves a second chance, even this one a-hole. And Michael Angelis does a fantastic performance as Scruffy, despite having very few lines. I just love that rough and tough and gruff voice he gives Scruffy, especially when he has to sing the song.
Oliver's no use at all, thinks he's very clever, says that he can manage us, that's the best joke ever. When the yacht is up about, when the grates is falling, we just push him down the well. Pop goes O Donnell.
The song of course uses the same basis that Pop Goes the Diesel does. I mean, it's called Pop Goes Old Ollie, for Christ's sake. Despite having the same basis as Pop Goes the Diesel, it is a very amusing song to me. Getting to hear Michelangelo's gruff voice singing it along with the squeaky sounding trucks. It's just another fun singing moment for Michelangelo in the series, and I love every second of the song. And I think it's fair to say that Michael probably gets a little too into the role when he has to play Scruffy doing the groaning when he's being pulled apart by the truck's weight and Oliver. He just performs it in such a powerful way, you really feel the pain that Scruffy's going through.
Oh! Grown Scruffy, I don't like this. Oh! Well, Scruffy. I'm coming apart!
Just a tiny detail that makes that performance all the more enjoyable. And we get a brand new shorter version of Oliver's escape theme from Escape from Series 3. And I love this shorter version of the theme. Added some new musical elements to it, and keeping it nice and short for the episode. It's just another great rendition from Michael Donnell and Jr. Campbell's music collection, and I love it. And despite the fact that this should have been adapted in Series 3 in between Oliver owns Up and Bulgy, I think they did a fantastic job adapting this story. Getting to see Oliver and Toad again, and getting to see a brand new troublesome truck in action. And Scruffy has just become such an iconic character in the TV series, with tons of merchandise sold on him, and one of his faces being displayed on one of the trucks at the Drayton Manor Thomas Discovery exhibition. He's just left that much of an impact on the fans. And I still have my old Brio model of Scruffy, which I used to carry around quite a lot when I was a kid. It was just one of my favourite Brio models for some reason, and I still hold it dear to my collection to this day. Toad Stands By is another fun episode which features Oliver and Toad, and it introduces a brand new antagonist in Scruffy the Truck. The set designs are fantastic, and it's just such a fun episode that you'll want to watch over and over again, especially if you love Oliver the Great Western Engine. It's definitely not to be missed.
Oliver's no use at all, thinks he's very clever, says that he can manage us, that's the best joke ever.